So welcome everyone, and my name is Mike Chenoweth. I'm a technical consultant here at OpenLMS. And today's webinar that we're going to talk about here is related to OpenLMS themes. So today I'm going to talk about OpenLMS themes and the importance of setting up a theme to keep students engaged. As some of you, when you're thinking about themes, you might think that it's all related to just the idea of communicating your institution's image, when in fact it's kind of twofold. Research shows that the better your theme is set up, the more supportive it is of student engagement and student learning. So something to keep in mind here as we talk about the theme topics here. I'm going to do a little bit of a presentation here with a couple slides, and then I'll go into our demo environments, just kind of show you a couple things that I'll be talking about here. But for any questions or comments, feel free to speak up. So going to the first slide here. So the importance of themes. So again, why is it important to create a good theme? And really the idea here is it does help a learner stay engaged with the content and easily navigate the site. So, if you think about the idea of, when you go to a site, if there's something that, if you're familiar with the organization, you go to a training site and you see their logo, you see their colors, and everything's laid out in a clear manner, you probably get a good feeling of, okay, I know I'm where I know I should be. And I'm excited about getting into this training course. Whereas if you went to a site where there's not a logo and the content isn't laid out in a understandable manner, you might say, well, I'm not really sure where to start. It might cause you a little bit of stress. So the idea here is that it really does support learning. If you have the front page of your site that looks really nice and it has a consistent look and feel throughout the site, it's going to make your students feel more comfortable and feel less stressed and be excited to get more engaged with your site and with the content. And welcome, Joe. We're just getting started here, so welcome. We are recording this session. Like all of our other webinars, feel free to speak up.
Hey, thanks for welcoming me. Just FYI, the Open LMS for the meeting for the North Carolina Community College system is still ongoing. So that may be where some of your participants are. It ran over just a little bit, okay?
Okay, good to know. Thank you so much, okay, Joe. I really appreciate that. Perfect, yeah, thank you. Okay. So again, yeah, going back to the importance of themes. So as most of you probably know, and some of these things that we'll talk about, you guys are probably familiar with the idea of setting up, some of these topics with themes. But as most of you probably know, the theme setup is easy to complete. You can upload images, you can change the colors within the site, and most of the time it's fairly easy to do, and we try to help you along throughout the way in that process and during onboarding, or even when you have questions. If there's a new release with new features. And we'll go into a little bit more detail a little bit later. But the nice thing too is something to keep in mind here is that you don't have to design an e-learning website from scratch. And that's the nice thing, is that we have, whether it's Snap, Boost, or Classic, we have examples for you. And we try to set you up with a template so that you are able to be set up for success. And you can say, okay, I have an idea on what OpenLMS recommends here. I'm going to go off and kind of start, adjusting the theme with, a certain colors, certain images, and things like that. And again, the key here is we want to create a positive learner experience and engagement without really having to spend a lot of hours creating it, right? Because we understand that, when it comes to a learning management system, although themes are important, the most important part is content, right? So we want to make it so that, when we create the theme, we're not spending hours and hours on it. But again, the nice thing is you can set it up It's very easily adjustable, and you know, if you want to change a small aspect of it in 6 months or a year, you can. So going into the second slide, what to consider, this is really where we really get us talking into a lot more details about the actual themes itself. So the kind of 5 things that I think about when I talk about themes is listed here, and you know, starting off with navigation. You know, navigation, in my opinion, is always very important when you're thinking about that theme, because the idea here is you want that design, you want your site to be easy to follow for the students so they don't get distracted and so they don't forget what they're doing, right? With Snap and Boost, as you guys are probably familiar with, there's built-in navigation, and again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the one thing that I always like to say with navigation is, and again, something you guys are probably familiar with, you don't want to add a link or an image in a course or even on the front page just because. You want to ensure that it has a reason behind it. And what I mean by that is, for example, you know, if you're adding, you know, some like a clip art or something like that that just has a design on it, you want to, you know, keep that in mind with, you know, what is that doing on the page? Is it showing a difference or an area where section 1 ends and section 2 begins of a certain topic? And again, you don't want to just add that image just because, you know, you like the image. Because if you do that, the more you add images like that, the students are going to get distracted and say, well, is there an actionable item on this, or, you know, what am I doing there? So going into colors and design. So again, a lot of your organizations probably have actual websites outside of the LMS that people are familiar with. And we really think that, again, it's very important to make sure that your color and design of your LMS is consistent with your website or marketing materials. Again, the idea there is that if I'm a prospective student or a student that's just joined, you know, that's just signed up at your organization, and I go to your website, your LMS for the first time, I might be familiar with your website from signing up for classes, things like that. And now when I go to your LMS, I'm going to see a consistent design and consistent colors and images, and it's going to make me feel comfortable. I'm going to go get in there and say, you know what? I feel really good about this. It makes you excited. And again, you know, just less stress on the student. They're going to know what to do there. So we always try to encourage when you're thinking about, you know, updating your theme with colors and design, try to incorporate familiar colors and designs into your LMS theme as much as possible compared to, you know, what you have with your website and marketing materials and things like that. In terms of the course layout, so this is something that you know, I work with new and existing clients. A lot of the time I work with new clients on onboarding and things like that. And sometimes we get into the course layout, but when we talk about themes, we typically talk about themes on the, you know, kind of setting it up from the get-go on the front page and what have you. But the course layout is really important to think about too. And again, your organizations might have instructional designers that think about this. But I'm sure that this is something in the back of everybody's mind too, is when you're creating the course, your courses and doing a course layout, you want to have a consistent look and feel. And what I mean by that is, you know, let's say, for example, you have 5 sections or 5 topics in a course, 5 table of contents, if you will. And the 5 table of contents represent, you know, 5 weeks. If you have in each of those topics a consistent layout, for example, having, you know, maybe in topic number 1, the table of contents number 1, you have documentation, and you have some PDFs or videos that you want people to watch and read. And then maybe the second part of that week is interacting with your peers in the forum, where students will, again, go out to the forum, talk to their peers, interact with them. And then the third part might be the knowledge check with the quizzes. And again, I think that that's really important to keep that layout. So each week you might say, okay, let's start off, week one is going to be with, again, we're going to have some documents that you want people to read. We're going to let people interact with other students in the forum. And then they're going to do the knowledge check near the end of the week. And if you do that each week, as students go through the course, again, research shows that the students will be more engaged because, if you have 5 weeks and I'm a student and I'm going into week 2, as I go into week 2, I'm going to see the same format that I've had in week 1, and it's going to make you feel a little bit more comfortable. And again, research just shows that it keeps them a bit more engaged because, again, that there is that consistent look and feel with the course layout. And then going into accessibility. So this is something that obviously is a very important aspect of any site, including a learning management site. But when creating content, when creating, uploading images and adding colors and design to your site, you always want to think about the idea of accessibility. And if there's users with disabilities, are they able to follow along on your site? For example, if there's somebody that is not able to see your website and they're using something like a screen reader, is that screen reader going to be able to navigate through your website and read off essentially what's on the course pages and then the front page to the students? Something that I've kind of thought about recently is the idea that I had an organization that was asking me, can I create an image outside of my LMS rather than the summer area with, using a tool like that will kind of enhance add some text into it and make everything all just one image and then upload it to the site. And there is the ability to do that, but the one thing that you have to keep in mind in terms of accessibility is if an image is uploaded with text in it and it's not, and that content is not created on the front page, for example, where you're using text in the text editor and then you upload an image. When a screen reader goes to read through that image, it's not going to be able to read the text in that image because what the screen readers read is the alt text for that image. So, and the alt text is just, what's the description of this image. So again, that's just one example of accessibility, but that's definitely something that you guys want to, I'm sure that's on the top of everybody's mind there. And then the last thing that we really think is important to consider there is the responsive and mobile friendly design. And again, a lot of you are probably familiar with the Open LMS app that we have. So if you're planning on allowing users, or if you already do allow users to use that Open LMS app, you always want to ensure that the content in your courses is mobile friendly. Chances are the majority of what it is, of the content that's created is mobile friendly. But again, it's something, it's good to always keep an eye on that and check that, if you have a new course that you're creating and it's something that hasn't been created in your organization in the past, and you're creating some new content that you've never created before, for example, something new with H5P or something like that, work with the instructor, have the course created, and open up the mobile app and go out to the course and make sure that everything that you can kind of go through the course and everything looks the way you think it should. So let me stop for a moment here. I know I've kind of jumped right in and we've talked about a lot here. Any questions, comments about um, anything that we've talked about here so far that you guys, again, just you guys have questions, comments to add here? Yeah, and again, so this is like as I mentioned, these are fairly the basics that a lot of you are probably already thinking about. And then in these next couple slides, well, in slide 3 here, I'll jump to it here. We're going to talk about just the theme options. Okay, yeah, thanks, Joe. The theme options. So again, these themes are probably you're probably all familiar with this. What I'm excited about, in addition to this, this entire presentation, is I have some customization tips and tricks that you guys, hopefully, you guys can find some tips and tricks from that you guys can apply here. So, but again, for those of you that may or may not be familiar, there are 3 OpenLMS theme options that are available: Snap, Boost, and Classic. And again, you guys are probably all aware of this, but Snap, the idea of Snap, it was built to be very modern and intuitive layout and have clear workflows. And Snap was built and maintained by OpenLMS, and it still is. We are consistently looking at ways to improve it. So, I've been with OpenLMS since 2015, and Snap has come a long way. I truly will say that there have been a number of enhancements added, dozens to be honest, and I think that it's just gotten better and better. And a lot of the reason behind that is because of people like you that have encouraged us and have said, you know what, I'd like to see this. I think the Snap theme needs this, and we've listened to you, our clients, and kind of tried to make it better. And hopefully, we've done that for you all that are using Snap. Boost also is a theme that's available. Again, you guys are probably all familiar with Boost. It was introduced by Core Moodle in 3.2. And I like to say that it's more traditional than Snap. And what I mean by that is it has a lot of grid lines. So that in my sense, that's what kind of makes it a little bit more traditional, is that with Boost, you have a very again, very modern and intuitive, where you go into a Snap page and you see this large cover image, and you see some other images that you can add and text and what have you. With Boost, what you're seeing in Boost is, again, more traditional in the sense that you're seeing where a certain section ends and where it begins. And you kind of get the idea with that with Snap, but with Boost, you do see those specific beginning and end areas. And again, I'll go into a demo environment and talk about that a little bit more. And again, I think Boost works really well. Also, one thing that Boost does have is it has a built-in navigation system. So Snap has a built-in navigation system. The My Courses area, Boost also has one that's on the left-hand side of a site, whether you're on the front page or in a course. And then we have Classic. So Classic, again, was built and maintained by Core Moodle. That was introduced in 3.7. And this is a throwback to Moodle themes that were used years ago. The idea here was that Core Moodle had received quite a bit of feedback that enough people that wanted the idea of a simple theme that uses a 3-column grid and heavily uses blocks. They received enough interest that they wanted to do this and create that. So Classic is a theme that is available and it's able to be used. Again, the difference between Snap and Boost with Classic is that, again, it is heavily used by blocks. And it does have that 3-column grid, if you will. So if you want users to be able to see what courses they're enrolled in, you have to use the navigation block. And again, it's fully, it's the majority of what you're looking at with Classic is, by use of blocks. So again, just something to think about when you're thinking about the theme options here. So, and welcome, Anna. I saw that you had joined there, Anna. So welcome to the call. Oh, and it looks like you might be reconnecting. So. Going on to the slide number 5 here. So this is just a quick little reference that we wanted to show you, which is it's a side-by-side comparison of Snap, Boost, and Classic in a mobile browser view. So we talked a little bit a couple slides ago about the idea of organizations you wanting your themes to be responsive and mobile friendly. Responsive, again, as you guys are probably all aware of, is the idea that when a site is shrinked up, if I'm on a mobile device, whether it's a tablet or a phone, a smartphone or something like that, when I shrink up the site, how is it going to look? On the left-hand side, you can see what it looks like in Snap. Again, that's one of the things that we try to do with Snap is make it very responsive, and you can see it is. This is the size of a smartphone. You can see there that none of the text overlaps with each other, and you're not going to see that in any of the themes really, but none of the text overlaps. The images still look really good when they're shrunk up, and although the one difference between Snap and Boost and Classic is you're only seeing a bit of content, so you're only seeing that getting started. If there is other content within that first topic, you're not seeing that. As compared to Boost, you can see with Boost, there is, again, one of the differences between Boost and Classic as compared to Snap is you don't have that large cover image in the course. So you're seeing a bit more white space up there at the top where it says public demo dash Boost theme. But again, when we're talking about responsiveness, both Classic and Boost are responsive, whereas when you shrink things up, you're not seeing text overlapping with each other. And in fact, you are seeing more content. So you can see there's a news forum, there is Meet the Instructor, etc. And actually, these 3 courses are exactly the same. You can see Algebra 101. If you look at each column here, these 3 courses are the same. And with Snap, you're seeing getting started. With Boost, you're seeing getting started all the way down to announcements. And with Classic, you're seeing getting started, and it goes down to essay and then shows topic 1, topic 2. So just a little difference there. And again, something to think about, do a lot of your users, are they using mobile devices? Are they using the mobile app? Again, just something to think about there. But the good thing about it is whether you're using Snap, Boost, or Classic, all the themes are responsive. They are fully supported by in a mobile browser view, and they are supported with our Open LMS mobile app. So let me stop for a moment and again, just take a moment and see if anybody has any questions or comments about what we're seeing here. I'm not hearing any questions or anything like that. So with that being said, so the part that I'm really excited to talk to you guys about today is the kind of the idea of customizations. And this is something where maybe you might be able to take some tips and tricks away from today's call and implement that in your site. And really the part of this that will really be helpful is going into the demo and kind of showing you guys some things here. But just generally, when I think about customization of themes, I think about 3 things. Standard out of the box options. So customization, meaning within Snap and Boost, you can go into that site administration, appearance, themes, and click on Snap or Boost, and it takes you to those standard out of the box options where within Snap you have quite a few options, right? You can change the cover image, you can change the color of the text, you can change the logo in the upper left-hand corner, etc. The site footer and so on and so forth. Within Boost, there's not as many options, but you still can add a logo. There are ways to add some color to that to the site, and again, For those of you that might be using Boost, I'll show you guys that in a little bit and how easy that is to do. So that's the first part, the customization of themes, where, standard out of the box options that everybody's probably familiar with. Second one is writing HTML, which one of the examples is it allows you to enhance your theme with features that aren't built into the standard settings. So again, this is built into just the standard OpenLMS site settings. So if you go and do site administration, appearance, themes, and theme settings, there is an area where if you go to additional HTML, you can add additional HTML to your site. You might say, well, what's an example of an additional HTML that you might add? If you're using the Snap theme and you wanted to use, for example, Google fonts within your Snap theme that aren't loaded into the site, you can add, and again, I'll show you this in our demo in a little bit, you can add certain fonts from Google that get loaded up into your site, and you can add those to your Snap font settings. So again, I'll show you guys that here in a little bit here. And then the last part is writing custom CSS, which is a bit more of an advanced customization. I know I've worked with a number of organizations over the years. Some people are familiar with how to write custom CSS to manipulate the site in terms of whether that's hiding certain text or changing colors of hard-coded text or anything like that. Typically, at the moment, we don't write a whole lot of custom CSS. We do have some. Again, for those of you that might be using the Boost theme, I'll show you some quick little simple CSS that you can use to update the colors of your Boost theme. But again, CSS, there is a lot of options with using CSS to be able to update your theme. And again, it's something good to know about if you have somebody in your organization that might know how to write custom CSS. And let's say you don't, you haven't been familiar with that, and you hire someone new, and they say, one of the skills that I have is writing custom CSS. You might say, well, actually, would you mind taking a look at our website, our LMS site, and see if you have any suggestions in terms of theme, customizing the theme with custom CSS. So again, as you guys can see here, this is one of our demo sites, and the idea that we've done with this demo site is we've tried to create this consistent look and feel. Within OpenLMS, you can see our logo in the upper left-hand corner, and one of the main brand colors of OpenLMS is orange. So you can see that we incorporate that into the text here. We have that orange text in the upper right-hand corner. But then you can see, within our site, we try to make it, again, not a lot of, we try not to distract users, but, we have the logo. We have a little blurb about who OpenLMS is, navigation that I had talked about it, within Snap. Again, all of you are probably familiar with the idea of the My Courses area there. So, and then you can see as we scroll down, what do we have in our site? We have some featured spots talking about what do we deliver. And again, as everybody's probably familiar on this call, if you are using Snap, you can make your Snap front page as simple or as detailed as you want. But again, going back to what we talked about at the beginning of the call, is you want to really think about, why are you adding this text? Is it something that is going to help students become more familiar with the organization? Is it going to help them, know what type of courses they're going to learn about, things like that. So let me go here and go to site administration, just for a quick reference for those of you that are on the call or might be watching this at a later time. You might say, well, I'm very new to OpenLMS. Where do I go to change my themes? It's site administration, appearance, themes, and theme selectors gives you the option to change your themes here. So if I wanted to change my theme to, for example, Boost, you would see I would choose the use theme here, Classic right here, and then you can see that we're using Snap. And yeah, again, a couple things that I just wanted to show everybody in going into Snap. There are a number of settings that you can change. These are what I like to call the standard out of the box options. The reason why we're seeing Open LMS is because of the site name, and the site color is this black across the top here. The logo is in the upper left-hand corner. The favicon, we're seeing this image in the browser tab because of that favicon, and then you get into the site footer here. That kind of shows what we're seeing down here. I like the site footer with Snap because that does show on every single page, including course pages. So for organizations that might be a little bit more familiar with Snap and they don't use the course footer, it's nice to know that site footer exists there. And then, as I talked about, I won't go into a whole lot of detail here with Snap, but there is custom CSS. So there's quite a bit of custom CSS in this demo site. One thing that you'll see is, for example, the Moodle footer. So this footer right here, the reason why that footer is black is because of this this custom CSS. By default, if you went into your site, it might not be black. So that's, and again, you can see, you might take this away and you might say, you know what, actually, I've been thinking about changing our footer color. You can see kind of how quick and easy that is to change. So you might even say, well, I don't write custom CSS that much, but looking here, you might say, okay, I think I'm actually going to change our footer color just by using this. And then you can see things get a bit more detailed, and a bit more complex in terms of other CSS customizations here. So, but again, there's ways to do some easy things, like I said, with the Moodle footer there. So, and then as you can see on the left-hand side with Snap, there's a number of options that you can go through. Cover display, personal menu, which shows, this is considered the personal menu. Why am I seeing deadlines, feedback, messages, and forum posts? The reason why I'm seeing all those options is because of all these options are checked in here. Featured spots, again, what we're seeing on that front page is based on the featured spots heading. So I won't go through every single page or every single set of settings here, but as you guys can probably see going through these settings, there's quite a bit of customization within Snap. So let me stop for a moment. Any questions or comments that you guys have had about your Snap themes, if you are using Snap? One thing that I really think is neat is the ability to add in these links to the top of the page. That is actually something you're able to do that in Snap, Boost, and Classic, all three themes. There isn't any, you don't have to know custom HTML or custom CSS to do that. If you go to Site Administration, Appearance, Themes, and Theme Settings, the way to add these links here is by going into this custom menu items. So again, with existing organizations that I work with, I don't see this feature being used as much. So again, if this is something that you're not familiar with, you might think about doing something like this. I have worked with some newer organizations that have said, I really like the idea of all these themes, but I'd love to have some links at the top of the page, just some simple links that will link out to our website or a help site, or I've worked with organizations that during these COVID times they've said, you know what, I want something like a COVID statement so organizations know where we stand. But with this custom menu items option here, it's nice that you can have whatever heading you want to show here, and then a drop down, and you can see I click on help docs and it takes me to a page that's outside of the LMS. The nice thing with this is it doesn't, you can set it to open in a new window. by having this target equals, having this text in here, and it goes into detail down here about, kind of some examples on how to add the custom menu items. But I really think that this works pretty well to say, okay, you know what? I don't want to take up a lot of space on the front page, but I want students and learners to be familiar with some things, and I want them to see these 3 headings when they log into the site. And actually, these are available when you go and do a course too. Something to keep in mind there. So again, the custom menu items, it's there to use. The About Us. This is a little trick that some of you might not be familiar with. Is when I click on the About Us, what it does is it takes us to a page within the site. And you might say, well, where exactly is this page? Is this a course page? This is actually a page that we had created on the front page. And if you're familiar with stealth activities, there's a way to add content to the front page. And you can see here the About Us right here. And it's set to available but not shown on course page here. And what we did there is, let me click on this pencil icon. We created a page resource, named it the About Us, and put the page content in here. And then the visibility, we set it to make available but not shown on course page. The important thing about this is it's not in a course, so students do not have to be enrolled in any course to see this. But even though it's created on the front page, it's not just showing on the front page front and center, taking up a lot of space. We've linked that out to the About Us area. So again, I can see it right now because I'm an administrator, but if I go into my courses and switch role to, and I just choose student here, you'll see in a moment, if I'm a student and I scroll down, I don't see that About Us that was created on that front page. But if I go to the About Us here and I want to know more about the organization, I'm able to see that because that is an activity that's on the front page that is hidden in a way. The actual activity itself is hidden in a sense using stealth activities, but the actual, it's available by way of that link. If I log out here, you can see when I go to the About Us, it is there. And I actually think that the reason why that is based on the fact that we have made the front page available. So yeah. So and Carrie, you had said thank you. I'm actually interested in the reverse. So you prefer to actually have it hidden. So you wouldn't want that page to, yeah. So off the top of my head, I'm not sure if we'd be able to edit the permissions or so, yeah. Let me think about that one too, to see if that's something that we would be able to do to hide that. Okay. And Carrie, you had said it would also be great if we could have a submit until on the quizzes like you can on an assignment. Yeah, I know exactly what feature you're referring to there, Carrie. Yep. Yeah, I think that's one that's been requested a number of times there. So yeah, definitely something to keep in mind there. Okay. Good. Yeah. Thanks for your feedback and comments there, everybody. But yeah, that's one of the things that I wanted to start off with in terms of customizations and showing there. The other thing, so going back to something that I mentioned in the presentation there, the idea of using custom fonts with the Snap theme. So if I go to site administration, appearance, themes, and Snap, and if I stay in the basics area and I go down to advanced branding. You can see by default, if you guys are using Snap, you might use Roboto and Georgia. You can see that Abril Fatface is the heading font that we're using, and Lato is the serif font. And for some of you that may have played around with the advanced branding in the past in Snap, and you might have added fonts to this area, and you might have said, you know what, I don't see any difference. There is something in addition that you are required to do here. So these are Google fonts. So if I go out to, and this is talking about that second part of customizations and additional HTML. If I go out to site administration, appearance, and go down to HTML setting, or I'm sorry, additional HTML. I always get those two mixed up there. You can see within head, what we've done here is we've added some custom HTML to this so that whenever any user accesses the page, it's going to load up these Google fonts. And because we're using Abril, Fatface, and Lato, it's going to load those fonts essentially into the site as users go to the site. So again, this might be something that you guys might not have. I haven't seen this being used a whole lot on the client side of things in the past. So maybe this is something that you guys might say, you know what, I've been interested in changing the Snap fonts. This is the way to do it. You can see within the head what you would add in there. So you would add in, again, whatever fonts that you want to add in there, and that's the way to really use the different fonts within Snap. And again, this is just one of the few examples of ways to add, customize your theme using additional HTML. You can also add custom links to the My Courses area. You can see My Badges. The way that My Badges was added is by going down here and looking at the before body is closed. And again, it's a bit of customization where, if you weren't familiar with this, you might not be sure how to add this. But again, looking at this, you might say, okay, it's pretty straightforward in terms of what we have here. You don't have to know exactly what you're doing with the var new link, but you know that with where's the link going out to? It's going out to the My Badges. And what is the name of it? It's showing as My Badges. You can see up here. So again, something to keep in mind. I think that's a really nice area too to be able to say, you know what, I want to customize this My Courses and have a link out to somewhere else. That's a way to do that. So thanks, Anna. And Carrie, how do you get the 3 columns along the site footer? So the site footer, that's something that's kind of built into our default demos here. And you really have to, so let me go the site footer here. You really have to play with the HTML editor a bit here. But if I go to the HTML editor here, you can see kind of where the difference is in terms of each column here. So you can see that it ends, the links for students starts there. So if I go to links for students, you can see that I have that heading 6 where it starts there, and the difference between these two there. And again, I know it gets a little bit difficult sometimes trying to add in the columns there. Let me follow up with you directly, Carrie, on that. I can kind of give you a couple tips and tricks on how to add that. Yeah, definitely. Good. Yeah, right. I agree, Josh. Yeah, that bootstrap grid button, it's helper but not bulletproof. Exactly. And I was going to mention that, there you can try to use that, but you're spot on, Josh. That yeah, it's not going to be bulletproof. So the one thing to think about too is when you're updating your themes is, as you guys are probably all familiar with your sandbox sites, go test it out in the sandbox site and try to see what you can do there. But I have worked with organizations that they're using a certain format and they clear it out. Maybe it might have 2 columns or something like that, and they don't know how to get it back there, and it's a little bit more difficult to do. So you don't have that button, really. I will. I can. I'll follow up with you offline via email. I can definitely add add that button to into the HTML editor. So yeah, let me make a quick note. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely add that for you, Carrie. So I know we're coming up close on time. Yeah, you're welcome. The last thing that I wanted to show is just in terms of Boost just, is there anybody out there that is using Boost as your theme that's on the call at the moment? There might not be. Let's see here. Yeah, Josh, you are, okay. So again, I didn't have a chance to look at your site, Josh. You might already be familiar with this, but a couple just quick, references here. Again, I'm guessing that you guys are probably familiar with this, Josh. But if I go to, I'm going to change my theme here in my sandbox site to Boost, and you'll see when I do that. And again, the reference of the links across the top of the page, you can see them in there. But you can see on my Boost theme, I have that orange on the left sidebar, and then the black. Trying to use some open LMS theme colors here a little bit. But again, you may or may not be familiar with this, Josh. But the way to customize some of these things, that black background there within Boost is if I go to Appearance and go click on Boost here. The reason why I'm seeing all that the black background there is based on this background image. So I've seen organizations just say, you know what, I'm just going to grab a certain color image and upload that into the background image area there, and there you go. That sets it up nicely. In terms of the CSS, so this is a little bit of just custom CSS that I wanted to show you all. And Josh, do you have some custom CSS that you're using to customize this, if you don't mind me asking? Yep, sure. Okay. And again, I see some organizations that have it's a quite vanilla site. So again, I always like to just show a little bit here. But this is a way for if somebody's on this call that might not, or if somebody's not on this call that's listening to this recording that might not be familiar with how to add some color to that page to the left side of the Boost theme, this is how you do that with that custom CSS. And really what you're just looking at is this information here. So the background color, again, getting really basic here. If you go out to htmlcolorcodes.com, whatever color you're choosing here, and you're seeing that code there, that's what you would enter into your CSS there. So again, not a lot of CSS tips and tricks that we have here, but just a couple things there. So I know we're a minute over here. That's really everything that I wanted to talk about today. And I know it was a little bit of a crash course in terms of some basic things and a little bit more advanced things, but hopefully you guys felt like this was helpful just to get a good understanding of what to think about when you're creating your themes. I know that themes are, again, going back to the idea of what we started with, themes are always an important part of your LMS, and we just want to make sure that everybody's thinking about their theme, about keeping it up to date throughout the year and over the course of years. If you ever want to spruce it up a little bit and you're using the Snap theme, you can very easily do that with a new cover image. Again, thanks everybody for your time. We really appreciate it. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and we'll be in touch.